Good afternoon. So I'm going to go through Joyce Carol Oates, Where Are You and Where Have You Been? You guys have done, most of you have done the questions, you've looked through it, you've thought about the story, you've read it. I'm going to give, um, a brief 15-minute take on the story. I'm not going to go over everything in detail. I don't feel the need for that. You've read it. But I'm going to talk about the characters, some of the themes, some of her motivation, and kind of what she does and how she connects to us, I think, in from 1966 to 2020. So again, 1966. Craig Bell is a year old, right? So I'm nothing, but things are going on in the world, just like you were a year old at some point, and things were going on, and your children, years from now, decades from now, will be a year old, and things will be going on. With Joyce Carol, she reads a story about this guy out in the Midwest, um, and thinks about what it's like to be a young woman in this world, and hears this song by Dylan. It's all over now, baby blue, and next thing you know, uh, this story comes out. So um, it's definitely a kind of a creepy story. I'm not gonna lie about that. Um, and she does leave us hanging in the end, right? I mean, she walks off into the distance and she sees the horizon. Does she ever come back? Does she not come back? Does she die? Does she leave? Is she ruined? I don't know. I mean, going back to looking at the song, how does Dylan leave us in this particular song? So, what does Oates give us? Excuse me. I think she gives us a few things. She gives us these three main characters, and we'll talk about them for just a bit. And then I'm going to talk about some of the themes, and it's going to be up to you to work with that. She gives us Connie. Connie's this young kid. She's a high school girl, uh, ready for summer break. She's excited. She's beautiful. She has this energy. She has desires. She has dreams. She loves music. Uh, she has this need, this I don't know, drive to want to be older than she is. She doesn't want to be trapped in this kid's body. She wants to grow. She has this um, naive understanding of what love is, and how does she get this understanding? She gets it through songs and movies and these things that are fiction. These are not true. A movie is a work of fiction more often than not, and in doing this, the writer has given us this fabricated understanding of what relationships are and how a relationship should be. But she goes to the movies and she says, "Hey, this is the way it should be." So she feels that. She hears these songs. These songs. I remember being one of my moments of disillusionment was when I realized that a lot of the songs that people were um, uh, singing, they hadn't uh, lived it. They were songs and maybe even other people have written. I remember listening to some rock and roll and then later on realizing these people had covered blues songs that had been written back in the 40s and they had updated them. And I was like, oh my God, like I thought these people were living all of this and they weren't. So that was a moment of disillusionment for me. But that's how Connie understands the world. She understands the world through the dreams and through the music and through the movies. And she attaches it. Look at us today, the way that we wrap our minds around reality TV that is completely scripted for the most part. For the overwhelmingly good part of it, it is scripted. It's not something that people are living this real world. It's fabricated. So um, I find her to be very contemporary in that we can associate with her. I've been teaching for 20 years and I have yet to have a year where I don't have young people in their teens who remind me of Connie wanting to be older than they are, wanting to grow up faster, wanting to get out of the house, wanting to have control of their lives, understanding that the more you feel that you have control of your life, the less control you really have in your life. Look at now, you know, coronavirus and how many people who thought they had control. Nope, little bug, little germ, and that took control. So I don't know how much we have. Her mom. We have the mom. And who is the mom? Well, the mom I find is very contemporary as well. Here's this person who has these two daughters, June and Connie. Connie even feels that she likes her more than June. I think that she feels that she can relate to June. I mean, the mom can relate to Connie. She feels that she had been beautiful. Phone's going off here. Shut your phone off. Um, she had been beautiful before as well. She had had these dreams, and now she finds herself in a life that she had not thought was going to be her life. And she looks at Connie. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're the same. You're going to do these same things. You're going to have these same mistakes. You have these same dreams, and you're going to end up in the same place that I've ended up in." And that's going to be a struggle for the mom. So for her, it's um, it's it's painful to watch. She brings up the Pettinger girl, and like, what about the Pettinger girl? And it doesn't really state it overtly, but alluding to the Pettinger girl has gotten pregnant, and the Connie's like, well, she's a dope. She's a fool. She doesn't know what she's doing. Again, how many times do we? Oh, we got it. I got it in control. I got this in control. I got this, and yet we don't. We look at other people and how foolish they are, but we don't feel that the same. We're making the same choices, but we don't feel that ours are going to have the same outcomes as them because we got this together. So I find that Connie and the mom have a definite, uh, realistic relationship in this particular story, as parents do, fathers and sons, and fathers and daughters, and mothers and sons, and they have these types of dynamics going on. And then there's Arnold Friend or a friend, and that she uses Arnold Friend and then puts a friend in there to me is just enormously clever. But this dude is a creep. We know, like, he takes off his glasses and his eyes are frightening. He appears to have stuffed paper or something into his boots to make him seem taller. He's older and he wants to be younger. Connie is younger and she wants to be older. He's feeling the weight of age and feels like he wants to go back to something else. He wants to see how he can hang out with the kids. Those super seniors we talked about, people who are in their 20s, even older, who are hanging out in spaces where kids who are in their teens are hanging out. Like, why? You're just move on to your own world and your own generation and your own peers, your own set of peers. Um, but we have this Arnold Friend, and this guy shows up in this golden jalopy, he calls it. He even says, well, how does he put it? He sees her um, at the drive-in. He says, "Gonna get you, baby." He says it's on page, what is that? Page 2. As she's there and she goes off with Eddie, down the alleyway, probably making out or something, and she comes back to her friend, and she'd seen Arnold Friend who hangs out where these kids are, and he stalks and shows up on the day and has all this information about her family, and has these numbers, the secret code, and uh, the dent in his car and the writing on his car. It's just weird. So we have these three characters: Connie, her mom, and Arnold Friend. We have all three of them struggling to accept where they are in the place of life. Connie is a teen. She wants to be older, like I mentioned. The mom is older. She wishes she had made choices and she wishes maybe she was younger. And Arnold Friend is fighting to stay younger. So much so that he's willing to probably do terrible things to maintain this feeling of power and superiority over his own world. Okay, so we have these three characters that Oates has given us, and we have this dynamic that she's put us into. We don't hear a lot about the father in the story. We don't hear a lot about June. We know that June is like this contrast to Connie, and the father is distant and vacant in this world. So we're really focusing on these two female characters, main female characters, and Arnold Friend, who is just awful. And then in the end, he doesn't enter the house. He talks about we have in the Dylan, um, we have about the burning house, and then striking a match, and you come running out into my arms. He talks about I'm not going to go into the house. You need to come out. So he's trying to create a situation to where if he's questioned or arrested or something, he's not seen as being culpable. He's like, well, she came out on her own. I didn't force her out of there. But of course he does. I mean, it's obvious that he is utilizing his power over her, and she's put herself in this position. She's not to blame at all, but she's in trying to be someone that she's not. She's put herself in this position as well. Okay. Uh, what I'd like to do is step now into themes. So we have these characters. We read the story. It's not like an overly complex story that way. But the themes. Well, if we look at the Dylan, if it's for Bob Dylan, the introduction is for Bob Dylan. If it is that, and we know that it's for this song, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And we know, and we've looked at the song, and we understand this is about disillusionment. Then clearly, um, Oates is dealing with a theme of disillusionment. So disillusionment in Connie. So as her world is, she's disillusioned as she gets older. Um, as love, this warped version of love that Arnold Friend brings, that's a disillusion. Her moment, moving outside of her home, the protective thresholds of the doors and the windows that Oates utilizes so cleverly throughout the story. Um, this notion of Connie having a storybook, movie, song version of what love and passion are going to be about, and she gets um, stalked and manipulated by this creepy um, old guy who comes and possibly does bad things to her, probably will do bad things to her. Um, that's not how she envisioned love and romance being, but she's disillusioned. Arnold Friend, he grows up, he gets older, and instead of entering his world of maturity and having a job and a career, blah blah blah, what we consider to be the norm, he doesn't do well with this either. His hair, his glasses, his wardrobe, his car, his the way he stands, the way he talks, the way he behaves. He's disillusioned with the life that he has, so much so that he feels he needs to regress back to something else. So in doing that, we get this terrible human being. And then disillusionment by the mom, to where she has grown and she has the children, she has the daughter, she has maybe the wisdom and the knowledge, but yet she has been disillusioned by her world, where she's not pretty anymore. She doesn't have the romance anymore, the glamour, the life, the vivaciousness, the the vitality that is life is gone from her. So all of these things have created three people who are clearly disillusioned, and you could write about or deal with any one of these three people with that particular perspective. But is that the only theme that we're dealing with? No, that I would say that's the main theme, but absolutely not the only theme. What other themes are present here? Well, I would say the theme of uh, love would be a theme. Theme of family, the theme of youth, the theme of connectivity, the theme of dreams, all can be brought, some of these can be brought back to disillusionment. These are not autonomous things. You can't speak of love in this particular story without the mentioning of disillusionment or perspective or understanding of love. And nor can you talk about this story with the notion of family without talking about it distorted. She writes about her family. They were never concerned with, they never bothered with church. But they're going to this picnic to where this other family, and Connie is left out. She leaves herself out, and this isolation that she brings puts her in a situation to where she's alone. We have Eddie, a character I didn't mention before, but he's a sidekick. He's this elevation of creepiness to Arnold Friend. that is um, one of a tool of Oates to allow Arnold Friend to threaten the family while at the same time being connected to and wanting to be with Connie Arnold can. So there are multiple themes. I tell you, we talked about disillusionment, but there's also family, love, expectations, perspective, youth, um, dreams. These are all, pardon me, all different themes that you could write about if you were going to write about this story. So, what does that mean? Well, you've done a series of questions. So, we will be writing about this, but what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking this story, and then I want you to kind of frame it out, if you will, outline it, and understand various themes and ideas that Oates has developed in this story. So I'm going to be posting an assignment that's going to be asking you to come up with a series of themes and asking you to come up with a series of examples of these particular themes. And then it's going to ask you to then come up with ways in which Oates has made this story from 1966 legitimate um, in today's world. So, in other words, how might the ideas, the themes in this particular story connect to how we live our lives today? And in doing that, you're going to have at the end of the week like a flow chart or an outline, any graphic understanding, but a series of themes, examples, and then connections from this story to our world today. Not generic, vague, ambiguous connections, but specific examples of people who have felt disillusionment, who have been disillusioned. Not just personal stories, but researched stories outside of your lives. We've all been disillusioned, but I want to see examples, family, and these types of things. So look for the assignment. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as you can enjoy this story. It's a love-hate for me. I read it and I get creeped out, but then I just love the way she wrote it and the way that she leaves me at the end frustrated. So look for the story, and look for the assignment, and we'll be playing with this for the next couple weeks. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.